Welcome to the Huddle Within podcast, where we go beyond the surface to uncover the real impact of sports on our lives, whether it's lessons of resilience, the passion that fuels us, or the stories that connect us all. This is where the game gets personal. I am Daniel, a regular sports fan just like you, and together we'll explore what sports truly means beyond the surface. So step right into the huddle and let's get into it. What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Huddle Within podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in once again. As you can tell from the title of the episode, we're going to be breaking down PSG's dominant victory in the Champions League final against Inter Milan, winning 5-0 against them in a pretty unconventional way, and a way that most footballing fans would have never expected PSG winning how they have, especially with the team presently constructed as well. So a really good deep dive into, I guess, how you don't necessarily need to have a star-studded team to win a Champions League final. And this PSG team definitely proved that. So really excited to break that down for you all. As you can probably tell from the sound of my voice, I'm recovering from losing it after a cold. So you may have not seen any content done for the Champions League final, which was quite shattering from my perspective, especially considering that I did a lot of UEFA Europa League and Conference League stuff, and kind of giving post-match fan reactions as well. So wasn't unfortunately able to do it. Reason being is because I actually didn't have a voice. And also it's very difficult here in Australia to get a plethora of PSG or Inter Milan fans. The plan was to go to Lygon Street and watch the game at Brunetti's and give kind of a post-fan reaction to Inter Milan fans, which probably ended up being a good thing that I didn't go, because I don't think they would have been too pleased to have a camera in their face after suffering a 5-0 defeat in the hands of PSG today. But we're going to be talking about PSG, the club that was criticized for a long, long time when the new owners came in, with basically just buying out the teams, breaking financial fair play rules, and constantly trying to get over that hump of never winning a Champions League. And they did it in a way that was frowned upon, to be honest, with the signings of so many superstars and so much money thrown into the squad. To now we're here in 2025, where all the stars left in bad terms, and also with criticism to the club, and they end up winning the Champions League in a team that would probably be the most likable PSG team I could remember in a long time as well, with so many young players, so many comeback stories, and so much inspiration there. So we're going to break down that. For me personally, I look at this and I think PSG thoroughly deserve it because of these storylines, and I also think that they were the best team the whole tournament, beating the likes of Liverpool, beating Arsenal, who completely dominated Real Madrid in that quarterfinal, and also destroying Inter Milan 5-0, which I'm not sure the last time we saw a result that big in a Champions League final, but 5-0 is pretty crazy. So essentially, we're going to first dive into why the team was different. So from the last team that was constructed, you could obviously all know that the team had a plethora of stars, most notably as of recent, Kylian Mbappe, but also Messi and Neymar. They were up front. They were the trio. They were the ones that were set to finally bring success into PSG. PSG obviously have been a really successful club domestically, winning multiple titles and dominating the French league to a point where people have famously named the Liga 1 as the Farmers League, given that there isn't too much competition in that domestic league. However, I do disagree. There are some pretty solid teams in there. A few teams that have won the titles occasionally. So, but anyways, I digress. PSG being the dominant team of France, Paris Saint-Germain, as formerly abbreviated, have dominated the leagues there, have continued to show a big presence. But the one thing that they were missing was a Champions League trophy. And that was always something that the club was always striving to get with these signings. And you thought that with Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe, they were able to do this. And as the club started developing through, once we saw Messi leave and Neymar leave, they chucked all the faith into Kylian Mbappe. They provided him a contract, which basically stated that he was able to have a say in transfers. He was essentially pretty much part of the ownership club. And what that would do to a player's ego was massive. And it really felt that it affected the team's chemistry and whatnot, to a point where even Mbappe wasn't too happy to be at the club. He forced himself out for free and then ended up leaving to Real Madrid this season in hopes to win a Champions League. To his surprise, didn't happen, and his team that left would have won the Champions League ultimately, which was crazy in itself. And a lot of people would have made that argument that if Mbappe was there, they probably would have never won the Champions League. And that just shows how good this team was constructed. But we've got to break out a few things of that. It's not to say that these star players are unbelievable, but the way that football and sport in general is moving towards is that it takes more than superstars. It takes more than big players to really win a league or win a Champions League. We'll say, if you look at Real Madrid's team presently constructed, it is a team full of superstars that failed to win any trophies this season. When you look at the team that they have, that team should be winning Champions Leagues, you name it, but weren't able to win anything in their first year. And that's not to say they won't in the future, but as it stands, they were trophyless. And then you go and look at a team like PSG, who have a very young, hungry team, but a lot of balance, a lot of gifts, and a lot of discipline as well. You look at that midfield, Vitinha, who he couldn't cut it at the Wolves, ends up dominating the UCL final and the season. João Neves, who's only like 20 years old, being a starting midfielder and dominating. And then the veteran likes of Fabian Ruiz in that midfield, also showing his prowess and his technicality and proven victory and leadership once he was in the Euros for Spain, but also now representing that at PSG. And it's just such a likable team. Even you're looking at the younger players, the younger French players such as Doué and Barcola, who weren't really even names last year, have come out and just purely dominated. And I think this all comes to the back of Luis Enrique's tactical brilliance. He's such an amazing coach and a very lovable figure as well. Obviously, his daughter really tragically passed away years back. That forced him to take a step down from coaching, and he decided to come back and showed that he is a serial winner. I think from what I've read, he's won 7 of his last finals. This guy does not lose finals, and he's come in and brought in a system where there is no egos. There is just hard work, grit, determination, and players that just are able to freely express themselves. And you can really see that in the team as well. It's crazy that a manager can come and make such a big impact and really change the narratives of a lot of players and the narrative of a club as well. And that's credit to him as well. And when I say that their team is more balanced, it doesn't mean that they don't have stars per se, because I do thoroughly believe that stars do help teams' success, but it doesn't all predicate on that. But one player that has shown that once having a clear season, he is a star player, and that is Ousmane Dembélé. He had a crazy season this season, scoring over 35 goals in all competitions, 2 assists in the Champions League final. He was able to break the record of assists in Champions League tournaments as well. So he was unbelievable. So really, really good stuff from him. And he is making a big case for the Ballon d'Or. And if you look at his career trajectory, all what was said about him was that he was an injury-prone player. And that has all been proven wrong now with this season, where he's finally had a full season and he's able to really show how good he is. He's come in and pretty much impacted the team from the get-go and really filled the shoes of Kylian Mbappe with a bit of kind of purpose as well. Obviously, he's got a bit of an ego in the sense that he believes in himself and he backs himself, but it doesn't feel like that is detrimental to the team. And you can really see that in his performances as well. In the Champions League final, he didn't score, but he was able to make an impact and get a few assists on the board as well. So really, really good to see players like Dembele that has most definitely stepped up, and you can see through his technical ability that he does have that passion and that will to succeed, and he is good enough, and it was shown. He obviously had that killer season in Borussia Dortmund, which forced that 120 million euro transfer to Barcelona, and it didn't work out simply because of injuries. But once he had that full run, he was able to show his success there. So really impressive stuff from the team as well, presently constructed. And even with some smart mid-season acquisitions, getting Kvaratskhelia involved. I can't say his name properly, but the winger from Napoli, Georgian international, who has come in and extremely impacted the team on a positive note as well. The fact that he's able to isolate his winger one-on-one is pretty impressive as well. And it really opened up the floor for PSG attackers. But just as an overall thing, the team is so balanced. The midfield is hardworking. The attackers are young and hungry to get on the goal on score sheets and make names for themselves. And their defense is still solid. You still got Donnarumma, who's a key goalkeeper for Italy and for PSG, who has shown lots of success. Marquinhos, who's been a long-serving player at the club, the captain, the stabilizer, and then some young new players as well, such as Pacho from Ecuador and Frankfurt, and also Nuno Mendes too. It's just a crazy smart blend of veteran players that have been there and been part of the club, to also young and upcoming stars, with also hardworking role players that have just really made this team so likable. And it's just great that this PSG team was the team that ended up winning the Champions League final. And I'm kind of glad for that, because they did cop a lot of criticism, and I feel like a lot of people wouldn't have been able to celebrate and be happy for PSG. Maybe been happy for the individual players, but not for the team as a whole, as it was constructed to be a team full of superstars. It's just great how the management and the ownership were able to just turn another page and try something new, and that it worked. It worked really well. Going on to, I guess, Luis Enrique and mentioning his system and stuff, the fact that he's type up his tactical work with his 4-3-3 false nine system, having inverted fullbacks, having a rotation system where players earn their place. Like, you're not necessarily guaranteed game time, as you can see. Barcola's a star, but he's been on the bench trying to earn his game time as well. And also, he's just understanding of player management, and I think that is top tier, to be able to handle all these young stars and really get what he wants from his players is something that is criminally underrated, and Luis Enrique continues to do a good job in that. Now I'm basically just going to break down the game itself. So obviously Inter Milan came in defeating Barcelona, a really disciplined, defensive first-minded side. Coming into that, you would have thought that it would have been very hard for PSG to break down. However, it was definitely not the case. They were able to really destroy them from the get-go. It was really through those quick transition in space, being able to just attack with force and will, and going at defenders, which truly gave them that dominance and result. And you saw that through the early stages of the game, especially through Doué, who was always tucking in wide, and with the pace of Dembele and Kvaratskhelia isolating the midfield and the defense, forcing them to kind of shift on one side, gave space for so many third man runs and so many attacking options, which did cause the goals that happened so quickly. And Doué was one of the big instances in that. They also were very quick to drag into midfield wide, exploit different channels, and it was just really good tactics from Luis Enrique. You saw that the midfield was just picking passes left, right, and center, and just controlling the whole game. Inter didn't really have any answers there, and it was just stable at the back. Like, every time Inter did come close to scoring, it didn't feel like they were gonna threaten PSG's defense at all. And just the fact that they were able to come out and score multiple goals, to a point where when Barcola was coming on, he was literally just taking the piss. Like, if he scored that goal, that would have been one of the best goals of the final I would have seen. But again, him able to come out and play freely just shows how structurally sound and how happy that this PSG team was as well. And I think it comes from the ownership as well. So Nasser Al-Khelaifi, just having the patience, having the understanding that maybe he would have got it wrong before, but this time he was able to change his vision. And instead of just buying players that were superstars, he opted to buy in players that were right for Luis Enrique's system and also right for the club. And he had a long-term vision. He was always ambitious. He always wanted PSG to win Champions League football, and was willing to do whatever it took to do it. And if that meant to get away from what he was comfortable with, it meant that. And that was something that needs to be given credit to, because it's really hard for managers to come in, or owners, sorry, to come in and try to, I guess, change a system or change the way they think, especially given their egos are so high, being very rich and having a lot of money, instead of just continuing to chase star players. And maybe they weren't available at the same time, but still, not being able to chase star players and have that patience to really believe in Luis Enrique, that he could get the best out of the players he have, is something that should be given a lot of credit to the ownership. And I talked about United in the last episode, the fact that they weren't able to sponsor or pay for employees to come and watch the Europa League final. The PSG owner did the complete opposite. Every single member of the PSG staff that were involved in the club were given free tickets for the game, and I believe free flights as well. So you're telling me a club like that, with the owner that genuinely cares about the club, doing that would not impact the team? I can't sit there and say that it didn't, because being able to offer fans, or even fans, they are fans, but workers, free tickets to go watch a Champions League final is just a testament to how much the owners care about the club and how much they appreciate the hard work of everyone. And I guess they made the contribution to PSG winning the Champions League ultimately through that as well. So being able to, put football first. Obviously, PSG in the past, and I forgot to mention this, was a high marketing club as well, especially pairing up with Jordan, focusing more on the fashion side, especially Paris, given that it's a fashion capital, trying to make PSG trendy in terms of fashion and kind of branding rather than football. They've done a full 180 on that, and it feels like this team has been strictly football related. A lot of their players are not seeking or reaching with brands. They're very much focused on their football. It's just great to see. It's super refreshing how we can see a club like PSG come in and just change the trajectory of their identity and really be likable. And that just shows, like, again, I'm going to repeat it. It just shows that if you're a team that wants to win a Champions League, it needs to be a team constructed with footballing players that work together, players that don't have egos, and not necessarily have a team full of stars and galacticos. It's a team that's hardworking, that has a good coach and a good system in place, and people that actually ultimately care about the football club. I think United have a lot to learn from a club like PSG, if I'm totally honest. But from winning the Champions League, we have to go into, I guess, what does this really mean for the club as well, and for football as a whole? For those that have literally watched PSG fail for so long, it does mean that the club is legit, real legit, and for the first time, they didn't win because they were overwhelmed with stardom. They won because they were better as a team, and they won their football identity. And moving forward, a lot of people are going to be looking at this team and excited to see that PSG are the real deal, and they're able to compete for Champions Leagues now. And it doesn't mean that they have a star team moving forward. This is big because, yes, they've won a Champions League trophy, but it really shows that identities can be shifted for clubs. And if they find a certain identity in a way of how they want to be represented as a football club, it can lead to high success. And PSG are just the perfect example of that. That's why I've really been meaning to talk about this, because it does send a powerful message that money alone doesn't win. It's structure, it's belief, it's time, it's patience, it's trusting people in the club, it's being able to back a philosophy, resisting the urge for that instant gratification. And that's how you build something that's long-lasting. And if we take it into the real world and into our lives, I think that's what people struggle to do. You look at the pressure, and I was actually chatting with my friend today about this. You look at the pressure of football and the culture that is associated with instant gratification, a lot of clubs are looking to bring in coaches and they're expecting that instant turnover within 1 or 2 years. And if that doesn't happen, the coaches get sacked immediately. And I don't think that is a sustainable way for a club to maintain any success as well. If you look at what's going to be happening at Tottenham, they're expected to actually sack Ange Postecoglou, which, okay, maybe my Australian bias does come through here, but at the end of the day, the guy won a trophy for you guys. It was your first trophy in over 17 years. To be able to back this manager and understand that he can create a winning environment for your football club is something that I think is extremely valuable, and sometimes patience is required. Who says that the next manager that comes in for Tottenham will be able to replicate the same thing or perform better? Maybe if they leave, they'll perform better than 15th, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Tottenham's going to win a trophy. And that was the stigma that that club had for so long. And you finally brought in a manager that was able to do that, that was really able to bring a trophy. And that was the ultimate goal for Tottenham. And you can ask all the fans, would they rather finish 5th on the table and not win a trophy, or would they rather finish 15th and win a Europa League trophy? 99.9% of them would have preferred that. Yes, the league title or the league position is terrible. Well, they finished 16th. But yes, the league position is terrible. But they won a freaking trophy. And that qualified them for Champions League, which would have been a top 5 finish anyway for them. So just sacking a coach just doesn't seem like the right option anymore. And being able to just back a manager is something that I find extremely important. And I'm just really glad that PSG was able to show this and prove this to the world, because they were a club that was like most clubs that wanted instant gratification, that wanted to sign a lot of players. They changed their identity, and what did they get for it? A Champions League trophy, which is amazing. And again, this is going to be such a great football story because it does relate to our lives as well. I'm going to say it again. A lot of us want that instant gratification, but sometimes we're going to fail. PSG failed a lot. They failed so much. They invested so much money into a club that didn't win Champions League, but they just proved that with patience, perseverance, being able to let go of our ego and stick to something that's long enough to work, you will see success. So just start building your life. Look at PSG and just see how some patience, some opportunity to work hard to achieve something that was great can be very fulfilling. And it doesn't erase the past failures, but without those failures, without the collapses, without the drama of Mbappe forcing his way out, without Messi going into the public and saying this club will never win anything, it really was required for PSG to get this victory and really turn the page on their failures. And that's another thing that sometimes as humans we fail to realize, is that when we fail and when we don't get what we want, or stuff happens to us bad, it's just part of our journey. In the end of the day, that happened. We got to move on. And if we do fail, it is step to success. It's all steps to success. And PSG again proved that. I'm going to keep mentioning them because I'm honestly inspired by their work. I'm inspired by the fact that they were able to come out and really, really show that sometimes things don't work out, but you can still succeed. And again, no one would have expected PSG to win a Champions League final with this team. Or if anyone was to tell you before that they won this Champions League final, Messi, Mbappe, Neymar playing in the same team, not winning a Champions League, them leaving and saying that they can't win with this club, you would think the club would go downhill. But no, they ended up winning. They ended up proving everyone wrong. They ended up proving myself wrong. They stopped being that marketing team that's just endorsed by Jordan. They stopped being a team of superstars, and they found a purpose. They found an identity. And I think this is it's a great lesson for all of us. And it's a great football story for the world to really understand that, yeah, you don't necessarily need a star-studded team to win. And that applies to all sports. If you're looking at NBA now, the Pacers, who are 4th seed with some light-headed role players, are in a Conference League final, are in the championship for the NBA. They have a chance to win a championship. OKC is the same. They were built from the ground up. They are the youngest team in NBA, or second youngest, and the youngest team in history to make an NBA finals. And they're going there. this is such a good thing for sports, seeing teams like PSG win Champions League finals the way they have, because it just really shows that it doesn't take superstars, it doesn't take high-profile names to succeed. And that should be the same with us in our life. We don't need to be equipped with all the talent, all the fandom, all the, I guess, stardom that our peers or people online are. If we be ourselves, if we stick to that course, if we be patient, we can win multiple Champions League trophies in our life. And PSG, again, really proved that. It's a great story. And congratulations to them. 5-0 victory against Inter Milan. And got to give commiserations to Inter Milan. A great run to the finals as well. No one would have expected them to make the final. And they have a certain identity too that's quite inspiring. It's packed with discipline. It's packed with setting up shop, being able to grind out victories and prove doubters wrong. It is something that is excellent. And they've made 2 Champions League finals in the last 4 years. So they might build off this and continue to be better in the future. The new owner came in and got so much criticism for stripping down and getting rid of a lot of their star players, but he ended up creating an identity, and he's a very young owner with this club, and was able to save money and being able to find the right players at the right price and create a functional team that does really well and will continue to do really well. So for Inter fans listening, your club's in a great place, and I'm pretty sure that you guys will compete for titles, continue to compete for titles in the Serie A, and will continue to make deep runs into the Champions League. So although they lost 5-0, they are still a team that has shown great inspiration. And PSG, a great footballing story here, something that we'll remember for a really long time. And I'm just so happy that a team like this won the Champions League, because it just shows that football is in a great place at the moment, and that teams that work hard can win things. And that's just awesome to say. And that's been a quick kind of breakdown of the Huddle Within, breaking down PSG and their kind of, I guess, growth and rise to winning this Champions League trophy, a trophy that they've been waiting for a long time. And again, really good to see. But if you did enjoy the episode, please feel free to subscribe. We go across all different sports, and we go beyond the normal hot takes and breaking down the game itself. We do find meaning and purpose within stories like this, and continue to do so as well. And we also continue to have guests that are first-hand involved in this and kind of share that same kind of thought and vision as well. So continue to look out for those episodes. Feel free to go back into the archives and have a look at other episodes as well. But again, it's been your boy Daniel from the Huddle Within. Hope you guys have a fantastic week, and I will catch you guys on the next episode. Cheers. So that's a wrap for this week's episode of the Huddle Within podcast. I appreciate you for tuning in and being part of this community where we go beyond the game and into what really matters. If this episode resonated with you, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who sees sports just the way that we do. And hey, I'd love to hear from you. Connect with me on my social medias, which will be linked below. Send in your thoughts and even be part of a future episode. Until next time, keep that passion alive, stay in the huddle, and remember, it's always deeper than the game. Cheers.